Hey everyone, Brody here with Let's Table It. I have a new copy of Wild Serengeti. It's by Bad Comet that they sent me for review. Now, Drew and Sarah actually first taught me this game and I was very impressed with it and I wanted to get more of it, so let's table it. So the main thing that you will be doing in this game is fulfilling your scene cards. There are three main different types of cards. First, the terrain scene, which lists specific animals that need to be in specific terrain types out on the board. There are 4 different terrain types in total, and you'll be placing new animals on the board in those spaces, or moving animals already on the board to those spaces. And I'll explain how you'll be doing this here in a little bit, but that's the first type of scene cards. The second type is straight line scene cards. These scenes make it so animals need to be in a straight line in the order shown on the card. Straight lines need to be either horizontal or vertical, but never diagonal. Also, the animals listed need to be adjacent to each other in the order shown, but the direction of the order doesn't matter. And other animals can be in between the others listed animals. And it doesn't matter the order of which way it goes. It can go from forward to backwards or backwards to forward. The third type of scene card is the Adjacency Scene, where the shown animal on top represents a focused animal and the other animals need to be adjacent to that one animal. This means the focus animal is in the center and the others are in one of the 8 spaces surrounding that animal. These scenes might have terrain that are listed on animals, they need to be on those as well, or if none is listed, then they can be on any terrain type surrounding that main animal. Each player starts the game with 8 scene cards. They pick 4 to keep and 4 are discarded. These will be your goals at the beginning of the game. There are 6 rounds total where players will take turns taking an action and then paying the cost of that action with their coins. And there are 8 actions all shown on the board. Now there are 4 different groups of mammals. There's carnivorous predators, the large mammals, the scavengers, and the migratory herbivores. Players will place their player marker on the action space to take that action, and if someone else's marker is on that spot and there's no other spot open, then you cannot take the action until that marker is moved from that spot and that spot is free. On the next turn, then that player will have to move their marker off of the last action that they took and choose from all the other action spaces that are free and open. These top action spaces on each area of animals let the players add one of these animal types onto the board into any open space. Only one animal can be in a space at a time out on the board. Obviously, placing out animals is the best way to complete your scene cards because you need the animals out there. These other 2 actions cannot be performed in the first round, but this first one allows the player to swap animal positions on the board, so you will choose 2 animals on the board and then change their positions with each other. This second action is moving an animal 1 to 3 spaces, orthogonally adjacent and never diagonal. This next action is to take one of the 6 scene cards from the cards out available. Players can have a maximum of 8 uncompleted scene cards placed in front of them at all times. Other players can see all the scene cards from other players. This might make it so players know what other players are doing. And then the last action is to discard the scene card pool and then place out new cards and choose one of the new cards. Players will continue taking turns and can take any free actions during their turn as well. That includes discarding 2 incomplete scene cards to gain 1 coin, completing any scene card by having the matching animals on the spot shown on that card, and lastly, a free action can be performed by using food tokens gained throughout the game to move an animal 1 space. Visual effect tokens can be used to allow a player to ignore a terrain condition shown on a scene card to complete that card without fully completing it. When completing a scene card, the player will gain the reward shown on the card. The icons on the top of the card will help to score more points later as completed scene cards are completed. while the reward shown on the bottom of the card might show an equation that is performed when that card is completed using the icons that you have from all of your completed cards. So things will ramp up and you'll get more and more points as the game goes on. Whenever a player has 2 or less coins, a player can pass, or if a player has no more coins to perform actions, they will have to pass. Rounds continue with players taking actions until they pass. On rounds 4, 5, and 6, the Great Migration happens, where you draw one of the cards and remove the animals from the board that are indicated on that card. Also in rounds 4 and 6, there is an award ceremony where the players with the most of the shown animal type will gain points, as does the player with the second most of that animal type in their completed scene cards. After 6 rounds, the game is over and the player with the most points wins the game. Players can choose to include specialist cards, which are dealt out to each player and allows players to play differently to gain points according to their specialist of who they have. And, well, that's Wild Serengeti, where you are very likely to create one of the best wildlife docu-series out there. And what I like the most about this game is how the board changes as players are trying to place out animals in specific spots to fulfill their own cards. Like, you never know when someone is going to move one of the animals that you need just to mess everything up. But you should have, a good variety of cards so that you can just roll with it and continue with others and come back to the ones that maybe got messed up with. You will need to keep your eyes out for what cards appear in the pool to be taken. Some of them might have the animals in the perfect spots already out on the board, and all you have to do is pick up that card to complete it. The other thing I like is how rewards for completing your scene cards are different, and sometimes you will want to go out of your way to change the board for a specific reward because it'll be a lot of points for you, while other times the card might not be worth trying for as it requires a lot of investment in getting what it is, and the payout isn't great. So knowing what you're going to receive as a reward is a big focus in the game as well. The components are the biggest draw towards this game as you get to play with the animal meeples, and the game is complex enough for it to be interesting and competitive, enough for some competition between everyone that's playing in the game. The game can play longer than expected a lot of times due to the board being changed so much in between turns. I personally enjoyed the game, and the time frame didn't bother me, but I know it could possibly bother a lot of other people, and there are ways to shorten the game with some house rules, but I know that normally people want to play the game like it should be designed for. So overall, I know the game has gotten some slack for that game length, but I still like what it does, and I will continue getting this game to the table. Again, this is Wild Serengeti. It's a pattern-building game by Bad Comet. Wild Serengeti is their older game, still does great stuff, but if you already have this game and already know that it's great, then you might need to check out Life of the Amazonia. That's their newer game that is great as well. And just check out these components. I mean, there's a ton of these animal meeples, and they're great. I know you'll want them.